All right, so welcome. Let's get started. Now, before we do though, I want to give you a little bit of a warning, because after I show you all these weapons of marketing, it's going to jade you a little bit. In your everyday life, you're going to start to notice different ways and techniques that people are manipulating you to actually get you to do what they want you to do. All right, so basically you can either take the red pill and proceed, or take the blue pill and close the window. All right, so let's move forward now that we got that out of the way. One of the biggest weapons of marketing that we like to use is authority and association. So who sells more products than anybody else? Well, celebrities. And for whatever reason, human nature, we love to buy products that celebrities pitch us. When you think of Nike, you think of Michael Jordan. Other things Michael Jordan promotes are Gatorade, all kinds of things. They all use Michael Jordan, one of the most recognized sports athletes in the world. What about Oprah? About anything she talks about or promotes sells like wildfire. And you can do that even on a lower scale. If you look at myself, I'm kind of a big fish in a small affiliate marketing, make money online niche. A lot of companies want to team up with us to actually promote their products because they know that we've built trust with our followers. So that's really what it boils down to, is trust. When you actually get a celebrity or somebody who's an authority figure to promote your product, you're actually just leveraging their trust with their audience. So other ways you can also do this is you can actually do what's called borrowed association or authority. And you can do that by actually doing some research on whatever product you're using, and you're going to find, probably, it doesn't really matter what product you're pushing, whether it's your own product or whether it's an affiliated product or something like that, you can actually find out that there is a celebrity that's using the same product or something like it. And then something in your sales copy, you can say, use the exact same vacuum cleaner that Muhammad Ali uses at home, even though he doesn't probably use a vacuum cleaner, but you get the point, right? So let's say use the exact same juicer at home that Will Smith uses, something like that. That's a total borrowed association. Now, some really sneaky tricks that I've heard a couple of marketers do is actually send people, famous people, products, and then send it via some sort of tracking method like FedEx or something like that, and then actually say, we know for a fact that X celebrity has this product in their home. You can too by now, something like that. Now that's a very sneaky trick, but you know, it's one of those things that are being used out there. So be careful when you see a celebrity endorsement of a certain product. A lot of people use pictures that they take with me and, you know, say that I endorse their product, or, you know, I'm homies with them or something, when in fact I just met them at a conference. But association is huge. A lot of times with me, we'll even use it, and we're going to get into how we actually use it directly here in a few minutes, but a lot of times with us, we'll use association as well. Several times, like years ago, let me just give you an example. Years ago, I got into a kind of a argument with Mark Cuban, and it was a whole YouTube thing. I said that Google was going to buy YouTube because I had participated in the Google AdWords program, and I said for sure they're going to buy YouTube because they now recognize the power of video. And, you know, and I had kind of a leg up because I was in the beta program and all this stuff. And he was saying, no, that was stupid. They're never going to happen. So I wrote a post that said, what the hell does Mark Cuban know? And all this and that. So that right there is a hell of an association, right? If I was just to lead off with that, like by saying, you know, a couple years ago, I was having this online argument with Mark Cuban, and I was beta testing for, you know, Google, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's a hell of a lead in to go into a sales pitch, just by associating myself, one, with Mark Cuban, and that he would actually care enough and think that I was big enough to actually respond to me. And number two, that I was actually beta testing a product for Google that nobody else, or really not a lot of people, had access to. So that's association. We're going to talk about that a little bit in a second. Social proof is a giant form and a giant weapon in your marketing arsenal. And basically the way it works is nobody wants to buy where nobody's buying, okay? So you see this offline all the time with dance clubs and everywhere, where they actually will almost incentivize people to come when it's dead or on deader nights, so that it actually looks like a lot more people are going there, and then a lot of people want to go because that's the spot to be. Because why are all these people there if it's not awesome? So social proof is huge, and that's why at a lot of these same clubs you see this huge demand. there's a lot of big companies. One that we'll talk about quite a bit during this series is Apple. Apple has demonstrated through many, many ways that they are the masters of manipulation and just mastering every form of marketing that we're going to cover in this video. And that definitely social proof is one of them. They tout their numbers all the time. X amount of people have bought this. X amount of people run OS X, even though they're very manipulative of those numbers because they count mobile on the iPhone as OS X, as well as the computer desktop. So even though they skew the numbers a little bit. Now, take this to the online world. You see this all the time. You used to see it as a big thing with just hit counters. People would proudly display how many hits they had on their website. Well, now you mostly see it, you can see it as like Billy Bob was just here and placed an order, or so-and-so just placed an order. And those things are absolutely huge. Nobody wants to buy where nobody's buying. So if you're able to demonstrate social proof and even talking about it and doing other stuff like that, it's absolutely huge for your website. And we're going to show you more about how to use that here in a few minutes. Now, the next one I want to talk about is fear and pain. On your cheat sheet, you can actually refer to it just says pain. But basically, emotion marketing is huge. And fear and pain is enormous and an enormous motivator for people to buy your stuff. You can see it with ADT. They have those commercials where, the girl's like, oh, happy, slappy, just met this guy, and she's going back in her house, and then this crazy ass guy just breaks in the house and terrorizes her house and, and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, you need to get the security system for your house. Another great example, of fear, driving people to sales is religion. And for years, every religion, no matter what it was, basically sold themselves as, you need to come with us, or when you die, really, really bad things are going to happen to you. And this is one of the huge reasons why many religions are the richest organizations in the world, both of land and money, because people felt that by leaving, all this property to them and all this money to them, that great things were going to happen to them and not, fire and brimstone, and they're not going to burn for the rest of their life when they died. So pain is a huge, huge motivator. So how does that relate to the online world? Well, when you go and buy, a lot of times you can actually demonstrate the actual pain, of what happens if you don't buy your product. So a lot of times online, what you'll see is are you leaving a lot of money on the table? X amount of people lost $5,000 last year because they didn't take advantage of this program that only cost $100. There's a lot of studies online that show that people hate losing money way more than they like making money. Okay? And I'm going to show you this graph right here. So what you need to do is you actually have to demonstrate twice or 4 times the amount of value of what people are actually going to lose, what they're paying, right, as to what they're actually going to make, right? So you need to demonstrate a lot of value over here because people hate to lose money or part with it. So you need to demonstrate an enormous amount of value in proportion to the price point. All right, and we're going to cover that a little bit more later as well. Now, the next tool in our weapons arsenal is scarcity. Oh my God, better act fast. So you see this all the time, right? Apple has become the master at scarcity, right? Because everyone knows you've got to run out, not walk. You've got to run out and camp the day before the product comes out if you want a chance to get a new iPhone or iPad or whatever the hell they're coming out with every 6 months. But they have people just waiting in droves. And the more you can do that, and obviously that's also social proof coming into concept as well.
The Slap Chop sells for $19.95, but if you call now, within the next 20 minutes, because we can't do this all day, you're going to get the Grady absolutely free. So that's 2 for $19.95. The Slap Chop with the Grady. Here's how
scarcity is a very, very powerful thing. Only 5 left. You've seen it. You should actually go, and I was actually going to save this to the end, but the interesting thing is if you actually go and take a test drive in a car, you should just do it for fun, because you will see so many things, and we're going to talk about some of those in the future, but scarcity is definitely one of them. And a lot of times these people, and as I told you, you're going to view things a lot different now that you're aware of what's going on around you. You're going to see people employ scarcity a lot, like, hey, there's only a couple left, and we're not going to get a shipment for a couple months, so if you're thinking about buying, you might want to go ahead and make that purchase. So scarcity is everywhere. I don't think it's rocket science, but just watch out for it because you're going to see it now in your everyday life. So the next couple ones are pretty much in the same ballpark. I've labeled them as disarm, which actually looks like a ninja kind of disarming someone else, and we're in this together. Now, they're kind of grouped together because basically you want to be disarming. You never want to be very aggressive in your sales approach. And as I'm going to show you here in a second, some of our most successful campaigns would really surprise you because we come off being so disarming. Like right away, we lower the shields of people because they're not, like, whoa, this guy's trying to sell me something. So, and I'm going to show you how we did that and exactly what the results were. And I think they're going to really, really surprise you. Now, we're in this together is basically refers to you never want to put yourself on this giant pedestal above your customers or your email list or your website visitors or whoever. In fact, when I was selling washers and dryers, I really, really learned this. And what I would do is I actually would purchase a lot of the washers and dryers model. I would take them back and get different ones, but I really familiarized myself with each of them because I wanted to put myself in the shoes of my customers and I wanted to be able to relate to them. It's never me and you, it's us, and we're in this together. All right? It's a huge, huge important thing to remember. Perception, a giant weapon in our arsenal of marketing. People need to have the perception of what you're selling them is an enormous value. They need to actually also see themselves being successful or whatever you're selling them. They need to actually see that it's going to make a difference in their life and actually see themselves doing what you're selling, okay? Now, it's no voodoo or anything like that, but you need to actually get your point across to that. Now, let me give you an example of how I used to do this in the offline world. When I would sell washers and dryers, it's a great example because people would think it's so different than selling stuff online, but it's not at all. But basically, I would tell people, I would say, okay, is this the kind of color you were thinking about? And they're thinking, oh yeah, and they start to picture this thing in their house. And you say, do you already have a location in your house picked out? Would this go like upstairs or downstairs or something like that? And they're all getting it perception. They're all seeing themselves using the thing and everything like that. And it's also like the same reason why a car dealership, when you go out there, they want you to test drive a car. That is why it is huge because where's the perception lost? I mean, you're there, you're driving it, you're feeling it, and you're loving it, right? Because it's awesome. So perception on a website is pretty huge. The more visual and graphic you can be about the actual product that you're selling, the better. You want to actually tell the story of what the product is going to do for people. And a really, really important thing is you actually want to sell the end result and not so much the benefits. So for instance, if you're pitching teeth whitening, right, you would say, feel better about yourself. You wouldn't say have whiter teeth, right? Because you want people to perceive the actual end result. Perception is a huge thing, so don't forget about that one. Now, when people buy your product, they look at the price as either an opportunity cost or a transactional cost. You need to make it an opportunity cost for them. This is an opportunity for them to purchase this product that's going to do a wonderful amount of things for them, right? It's an opportunity. It's maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and they better act fast. That's a little bit of scarcity mixed in and everything, but it's an opportunity. Let me give you an example. Years ago, in 2005, I had an opportunity to basically buy into the Google AdSense system. I had made no money before that online, virtually, and I implemented it, and then I started making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, from Google AdSense. So that was a huge opportunity. It's also a great social proof and authority and some other things mixed in there too. But the way that you look at cost is huge. If you look at your sales page or your landing page online and you look at it as basically it's a sales transaction, then not so good. But if you look at it as like, I need this, this is an opportunity for me to really do something. So you need to actually make sure you portray your product that it is that opportunity for your customers. All right, now I've saved the biggest one for last, and that's call to action. It always amazes me how many people don't understand what call to action is. Now, and this goes all the way back, once again, to selling washers and dryers. I sold a lot of car audio equipment, and you need to ask people if they want to buy, right? Very simple, like, are you ready to buy? Let's go ahead and get checked out. Or, whatever. You're going to see call to action all the time. from really good salespeople. But a lot of times people jump into this world into making money online, like I said before, and they just don't understand that you actually need to ask people if they're ready to buy or actually tell them what to do. So it doesn't matter if it's on your website or if it's in your ad. You know, a lot of times with Facebook ads, one of the biggest tips I give people is I'm like, do you tell people click here to get started, like in your ad copy? Well, no, that would be, can you do that? Well, yes, you can do that. You know, some advertising companies, I believe it's like MySpace and Google don't allow it, but Facebook does, and it's huge if you use it. Your click-through ratio will be twice as good if you tell people click here to check out more, stuff like that. Call to action is really, really important. You have to tell people what to do or they're kind of lost. That's why it's click here to buy now, add to cart, big buttons, in your face buttons, call to action, arrows, all that stuff. And we're going to show more of that here in a second. So that covers all of our weapons of marketing. Feel free to print out the blueprint, make it into a poster if you want or whatever, but whenever you build something that you're going to sell something with, I want you to look at this and make sure you've incorporated each of these functions into your sales letter or your web card or whatever you're selling. Okay, so that's the big overview of all the weapons of marketing that we like to use here at Shoe Money Media. Now, what we like to do, and anyone who's ever watched anything that we've ever done or read any of our blog posts knows, is that we like to actually teach from experience and actual case studies, and we feel that that actually helps educate people a lot more. So what I'd like to do right now is actually dive into some of our biggest hits, if you will, and show you exactly what we did and how we did it. So a long time ago, a young man started a website called $1 Million Homepage, and basically he started selling pixels for, you know, all these, I think he sold them for $10 a piece or whatever. Anyway, long story short, he sold it for $1 million. Then there was all these ones that spun off. One was called $1 Million Wiki, and a kid approached me to actually sell these, and he was going to give me a percentage of sales and all this stuff. So I thought, what the hell, let's try it. At the time, I only had about, I think it was about 6,000 or 7,000 blog readers a day. It was about a, you know, a small fraction of what we have now and the reach that we have now. But I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And this has been many years ago. But it was actually my first real run at it, and really the first time I really realized the power of actually selling online. So we did the post, and actually, the kid actually ended up, one post on my blog about it actually sold over $40,000 in his actual sales. And so we actually made something like $14,000 or something like that. And I thought that was pretty cool for one blog post. We can actually look at the actual post, and how I did it really is actually, I wrote, the title of the blog post was really disarming. If you notice, that's one of our tools of marketing here, is that basically the actual post is titled $1 Million Wiki, is it a good investment? And that's actually a question. It's very disarming. I'm not saying, hey, go buy a page on $1 Million Wiki. And it's mostly about, you heard about this $1 Million homepage, but basically this guy's selling $1 Million Wiki, where you can buy a wiki page for $100, and if this thing really ranks and it starts kicking ass, it just seems to make sense that it's a really wise investment. And really, can you afford not to do it? A little bit of fear there, and scarcity. And then also I said, I just don't think it's worth missing the boat, because, I think it would really, really suck if you could have bought this keyword for $100, only $100, and I actually bought it myself. And that's also the whole me and you are in this together kind of thing, because I actually bought it myself, showed my receipt and everything like that. So there we have me and you are in it together. We have the pain thing, because wow, how much would this suck if you could have bought this for $100 and only $100, and now it's like killing it, and it sucks. So, and then also demonstrating that you're actually doing it, and also a lot of social proof as well. So just by using those little things, being very disarming, this actual blog post ended up making me over $14,000. Okay, let's show another example, a really, really recent one. So very, very recently, there was a new startup company called Do It Yourself SEO. It was actually founded by a man named Patrick Gavin, who comes from a long line of successes, last one being a company called Text Link Ads, which sold for a rumored $40 to $50 million, depending on which headline you believed. So basically, he reached out to me to help promote it. And I sent out one email. Basically, the subject was what you need to know about SEO. And it was important in parentheses. And you can see the email right here. And basically, I just talked about SEO. Who is it? What is it? And who needs it? And then I talked about all the small businesses out there that needs it. What's the charge? I talked about how people are getting ripped off by all these SEOs. Just went on and on and on. Just gave people a lot of education about SEO and the history of it. And then I said, now there's this thing called do-it-yourself SEO. It's going to save people a ton of money. And, and also now there's this free trial, but only for 7 days. It's basically 100% free, no risk free trial. And basically I've been running through it. I think it's awesome. And I think it's going to benefit a lot of people. So I think you should go out and do it. Now, from that, I basically was the #1 affiliate. I generated a lot of money in commissions, and it totally killed it. And as you can see from this email, I didn't do anything super special. There was no hard sale. It was very soft, but it absolutely killed it. And that was because, once again, we demonstrated it was a scarce, limited time offer. We gave a lot of value, so it was very disarming. It wasn't a hard sale at all. I never sell very well by coming out and being like, hey, you've got to go buy this. This thing is awesome. It's always by just saying, like, hey, there's this thing out there. If you want to get it, but here's all this other stuff about it. So we really do well with the soft sell. Let's take a look at a really recent example, something that we just sent out a couple of days ago. So just a couple days ago, a guy named Jeff Walker started a product launch called Product Launch Formula. A little irony there. But basically, it is an excellent product. I've promoted his last 2 products, and I can tell you, I've never had as many people come up to me at conferences and events thanking me for pointing them into his direction. Now, the products sell for, around $2,000, and he's very selective about who he lets promote it, and usually you get about 50% commission. Okay, so it's pretty lucrative. So basically, here was the basic email that I sent out. And it was basically, the title was, are you always going to try to sell me stuff? It had an enormous open rate, because obviously that's a pretty baited title. And in the email, I was straight up honest. I think to the point where a lot of people would be very surprised, which was my goal. So if you look it up right away, I say, I recently got an email yesterday from a young lady who said, hey, Jeremy, how do you choose which products you recommend? It was actually a true story. It inspired me to write this email. And I said, it's a great question, and one that I'm not afraid to answer at all. I'm not at all. So I said, first and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Why avoid the question? Money. I'm in business to make money. Okay, so if you purchase something from my link, I get paid for it. And I even go on to actually say, and I'll cover this in later videos that you'll be able to see, basically with our disclaimers, I actually go way out of my way to actually say, if you actually look at, click on, or buy anything, you can bet that I get a percentage of it. I just want to be very upfront with that. So, so I say, but while this might seem like it's the biggest motivator, it's really about third or fourth. Number one, I had to have met the person face to face whose product I'm promoting. Say that 5 times, and that'll get you screwed up. Okay, but basically, like, if I don't know the person, I'm not going to promote their product. So a lot of people reach out with me, as you can imagine, every day and want me to promote their products, and I'm simply not going to do it. I've built up a lot of trust and a lot of readership, and I'm not going to promote stuff that, I don't believe in, or I don't know the person, because I want to be able to call them up on the phone and be like, hey, like so-and-so reached out to me, I don't care who it is, and said that, you weren't going to give them a refund or whatever. So I want to make sure that. Number 2 is no risk. And I said, this is by far the biggest thing for me, is that, any of my readers, if they do decide to purchase your product, they can get a refund at a minimum of 30 days, 100% refund, and no risk guarantee. And number 4, I want an evaluation copy so I can personally review it. And then I also, if I'm not planning on purchasing it myself, I'm not going to recommend it to anyone. So all the products that I've recommended in the last year, I think I've recommended 4 altogether. I've bought them all. I bought like I've actually bought way more than I've actually recommended. Some of them I wouldn't recommend to anyone, but the ones I do recommend, I've purchased them all. A lot of them are great stuff, but again, I'm not going to recommend anything that I would not, actually purchase myself, and then also something that people are not going to get their money back if it doesn't work for them. Because, let's be honest, if it doesn't work for you, you should be able to get your money back if it's not everything you were promised. So, but I'm really upfront with that. But then basically I say, oh, by the way, a birdie told me that, for all those who still want to get in on Product Launch Formula, keep your eye out because I heard that they're going to have some openings today, right? And so they did have some openings yesterday. Wow, this is really soon. And so basically, I sold more yesterday than I sold on the opening day because of this email, because I was so blunt honest. And this is the whole, we're in this together, me and you, like, this is the way it is. I'm honest, I'm laying it out there. Here's exactly what the deal is. And so I also did some scarcity here, obviously, because it's the last day you could get it. I did some, some association, a definite call to action. But I think the biggest thing is that just relating to your users and saying like, hey, here's exactly what's going on here. And here's, I'm not going to push these things, and don't worry if you don't buy it. And hey, it is $2,000 and I totally understand if you don't buy it, but by being completely disarming sometimes and honest, you will sell the most stuff. Imagine that. So that's really, really cool stuff. So here you can just look at the actual click stats, are crazy. And we actually completely killed it and ended up selling quite a bit from that one. So just another really, really recent one was a blogger named John Chow decided he was going to do his own product launch called Blog Profit Camp. Now, John has a very interesting story because even though he doesn't have much technical experience or technical ability or background making money online other than his blog, he does extremely well making money from his blog. He makes about $40,000 a month, a little bit more. So he's decided to create a product called Blog Profit Bootcamp, something like that, and Blog Profit Camp. And basically, he reached out to me to be one of his affiliates for this. So he basically has a couple hundred affiliates, all promoting it. And so I promoted it. And it was kind of fascinating because after the second day, he reached out to me and said, you're doing pretty good. And I said, well, how good am I doing? Because he's having a contest. He's giving away like an iPad to whoever delivers the most leads and all this stuff. And he said, well, you basically have more leads than all the other affiliates combined. And I was like, all hundreds of them? And he was like, yes. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But let's look at the actual email that I sent out. So the title of my email from John's was actually called, What Does It Take to Make a $500,000 Blog or 500K Blog? Obviously, that's going to bait people in to read the email, which is one of your main goals of the title. Then right away, I throw a little disarm in there, right? Because I say, for all those asking about the Good Karma List Machine software, we will be releasing it to this list sometime tomorrow. And that was true. That was a bunch of software that I was going to give my list. And right away, that says, hey guys, I'm going to give you this big thing of value coming up. So that puts people in a good mood right away because they know, oh, okay, that's coming, cool. And they start to actually, then it's a big disarming technique that you can use. Like right away, if you start off with something kind of a little like look over here kind of thing, it works really, really well. So I say, I love stories like this. John Chow is the last guy in the world you'd expect to make $500,000 a year blogging. He's not technical, he doesn't do graphics, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I just finished reading his new ebook, which I did, and he completely walks you through everything he does. Okay, it's very powerful to say that. One thing about John, he is always amazingly transparent about exactly what techniques he uses and exactly what he does to make money. Okay, those are very, very powerful statements because those are, basically he does though in the book, he walks you through everything that he does, but it's very, very deliberate. And I say, here's what I think is one of the biggest reasons why I got a ton of opt-ins, and it's something that's actually, it is in here somewhat under call to action, but it's kind of a little trick, if you will, is you basically talk about the actual things, is you basically say, one of the things I want you to pay attention to is, in the second chapter when John talks about this. Right? Because what you're saying is, you're kind of alluding to the fact that they've already downloaded it, and it kind of leads into not only perception, because they're actually like, oh, well, you know, it's an afterthought that I'm already going to download this thing and I'm going to be reading it, and so I'm going to be paying attention to it. So I'm always like, grab a notebook. That's why you'll see me in a lot of videos say, grab a notebook and a pen, and in chapter 2, I really want you to take notes on this part. And a lot of times it's very, very true, but it also leads to a lot of opt-ins because the person is actually perceiving themselves. It's not even, you don't even tell them to go download it. It's already an afterthought that they're downloading it, okay? That works very well. You see me do that all the time, and it works extremely, extremely well. All right, so those are a lot of real life examples. We have more videos in store for you. I got pretty excited making this one, then I thought, what the hell, let's make some more. So stay tuned coming up and check your email, because we're gonna have quite a series of videos coming up in the next 10 days or so. So we'll see you soon.